my name is Warren Hood, and I live in Austin, Texas, born and raised here. Been playing professionally now for 25 years or so. Down here, I play fiddle, guitar, and mandolin. I sing and I write. I do a lot of sideman work, playing for other folks, most recently with Lyle Lovett on the road. And I like to do a lot of music from my dad's band, Uncle Walt's band. My dad being Champ Hood, who was a member of Uncle Walt's band with Walter Hyatt and David Ball, and they wrote a lot of great music. They were out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, and so my show tends to include a lot of my own songs, along with a lot of their songs too. I try to keep their music alive, and it really fits in well with what I do with my own band. It all kind of works out together really nicely. And my band also includes my cousin Marshall Hood, and Marshall also has his own band. But I'll let Marshall tell you more about
I'm Marshall Hood, originally from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I live in Austin, Texas now. And I play music here in Austin. Been doing it for a long time now. And I'm in my cousin's band, which is called the Warren Hood Band. And I also have my own band, which is called the Marshall Hood Band. And I play I do some side work and some studio work and stay busy playing music. And I have a dog.
Warren, I saw on your website that you just started off studying classically. Is that correct?
I did. Often times people think that I learned from my dad and grew up playing fiddle music, but I actually took classical violin lessons in school to start. And my dad was a self-taught player, really didn't play classical at all. And I kind of, in the early part of my career, thought I was going that path and would wind up in an orchestra somewhere or something like that. But then, going with my dad to all of his shows and hearing him play fiddle and hearing blues and country and rock and roll and all these various styles, just kind of started improvising and playing in bands and realized that, the other kids in the orchestra couldn't improvise and swing and play bluegrass and stuff. And that was kind of where my heart lied, was in that other genre. And so I kind of followed that path and ended up getting a lot of gigs when I was still in high school. I started playing with Charlie Robinson and Bruce Robinson and Kelly Willis. And my dad passed away in 2001 when I was just out of high school. And I quickly inherited a lot of his gigs. People that he used to play with started calling me. And to this day, I still play with a lot of those same people and just kind of followed the path and sometimes feel like I didn't have much say in the matter. I just kind of kept getting the gigs and here I am all these years later. I have my own band, but I'm still playing with a lot of the same people my dad played with.
Great. And you said you play with Lyle Lovett some. I'm a big Lyle Lovett fan. I've seen him play, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in concert.
So back in the day, Lyle used to open for Uncle Walt's band. He was a big fan of theirs. And he's told stories about how oftentimes he'd be playing for nobody but Uncle Walt's band and the bartender for his show. And he said they were always so nice to him and hung out for his whole show and hung out with him after the show. And we're always telling him what a great songwriter he was. And then when Lyle, his career took off and he became popular, he let Uncle Walt's band members open for him. Walter opened some shows for him. He took my dad on the road playing guitar and fiddle. He's let me open shows for him, and now he's offered me some gigs with him playing in his band. So he's always been so good to my family, and it's kind of back and forth. I think that he was shown some kindness in his early days, and he's returned it.
Marshall, did you grow up in Spartanburg?
I did.
Okay. Did you go to Spartan High?
I did.
Okay. Well, me too.
Class
Long
of
time ago.
05.
Oh five. Okay. Yeah, that's only about 30 something years after me. Did you play like in the orchestra there or anything, or you just kind of
I
started off
did
playing
not.
guitar?
I had that. I wasn't in this in the school band, but I had my group of I had a band then called the Shapes Band.
That played mostly Uncle Walt's band music.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys have both grown up with the Uncle Walt's influence quite a bit, obviously.
Yeah. So Marshall, like some of the first songs he started learning in junior high was Uncle Walt's band songs, and they are not easy to learn. And he worked through them and pretty much learned all of them, and had, as he mentioned, the Deschamps band, a bunch of junior high kids playing those songs, singing those harmonies, and they were really good. It was really, really cool to see. Marshall definitely got in Uncle Walt's band long before I did. I mean, I listened to it growing up, but like I said, I was more into classical music in high school, and didn't really get into that stuff until after my dad had passed away. That I really took the deep dive into the catalog of Uncle Walt's band music, and became such a huge fan. But Marshall was really, when he was 9, 10 years old, was learning those songs and performing them in public.
Um,
Not easy for anybody, especially junior high kids, and they did a great job.
it's definitely not like three chord country or anything.
Now
It's not.
there's a few more.
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes to learn their songs, you have to almost be proficient in playing Bach on the guitar, because it's not enough to just like, well, here's the chords and the melody, and you just strum it and sing it, as a lot of songs might be. But they're very specific, like finger style guitar parts that without it, the song doesn't really make sense. Like you have to learn this like beautiful guitar sonata in order to perform some of these Uncle Walt's band songs.
You guys stay in touch with David much?
We do. Um, in the past few years, it's been since before the pandemic. We had a little side project called That Carolina Sound, where Marshall and I, David Ball and his drummer Scott Metco, and our friend Nigel Fry on bass, would perform a lot of the songs of Uncle Walt's band, along with some of David's more recent songs, and even some of mine and Marshall's music in that band. It was kind of open to all of it, but we focused on playing Uncle Walt's band music. And for me, there's nothing cooler than getting to do those songs with David Ball. It might as well have been Paul McCartney asking me to sing Beatles songs with him. It was just the coolest thing I can do. Yes. So when Uncle Walt's band was together, they didn't release very much music as a band. They were kind of famous for being a band that didn't get a record deal until they had split up, and it was kind of a running joke that they had. They might have only put out 2 albums. Maybe Marshall knows better than I do. 2 albums while they were together, and one was a live album. I think one was a studio album, and there were some cover songs on those albums too. And most of their repertoire that they wrote and performed regularly was never released. But fortunately for the rest of us, people were recording them at those live shows, and Uncle Walt's band made numerous studio recordings, like demos that just never came out. And so Mark and Heidi have spent the last several years tracking down the people, whether it be like Walter's brother or maybe somebody who owned a studio in the 70s who recorded Uncle Walt's band, and tracking down all these reel to reels and getting them into Pro Tools, into digital, cleaning them up, because those tapes, deteriorate. So we're kind of lucky that the tapes even held up. And Omnivore Records has put out over the past, I don't know, 5 years or so, 3 different compilation albums that each have 20 songs on them. A lot of stuff that was previously recorded, but about half of it that was never, I'm sorry, that was previously released, but about half of it was never released. So in the past few years, we have unearthed some never before heard recordings and gotten them out into the world. And I can tell you there's still more. I have a Dropbox folder full of unreleased Uncle Walt's band material. And so, as time goes on, maybe those will kind of trickle out as well. But it's just amazing how many songs those guys wrote and recorded.
Yeah, I see that there's a website, UncleWaltzBand.com, and They've got some stuff for sale in there, I think. So
Yes,
cool.
really some great stuff there. I recommend anybody check it out. It's so hard to describe their music. You just have to hear it for yourself, and you can't get the picture with one or two tracks because they jumped from pop to jazz to blues to country and rock and roll all on the same album. Just like no two songs sound alike. And you could totally paint a picture with five songs of them and then a totally different picture with five different songs. And it's just an amazing body of work.
Can you tell me just a little bit about how the Spartanburg event came together for you guys?
I'll let Marshall take that one. He's got a connection there.
Yeah, well, Randy Foster was my guitar teacher back in the day, and he he contacted me about playing, and I said, well, you'll have to talk to Ward. and then I mean that's pretty much how it came to be. He called. I said, sure, all right, let's do it.
Randy put a show together, or was part of the team putting the show together for I guess they were inducting new members to the Spartanburg Trail of Music,
Yes.
and had a big concert, and they called Marshall and asked us to come represent Uncle Walt's band in this concert. Of course, they had a lot of music from Spartanburg or from South Carolina uh, represented that night. And so we were there in honor of Uncle Walt's band, and I was blown away at the talent on the bill that night. Everybody sounded so good, and I was just real honored to be part of it.